In the future, natural catastrophes and crises threaten the planet, forcing world leaders to meet and search for solutions. After a thorough discussion at the UN, world leaders agreed to reduce the global population by 20%. They decide this because every disaster they face is traced back to human-made problems. After the UN Secretary-General issues this order, all international borders are closed until each nation reduces its population to the required number. This is necessary due to severe food and resource shortages across the planet. Next, a government water distribution vehicle hands out water to locals. A little girl notices officials from the Department of Citizen Strategy clearing a house after euthanizing one of its residents. Bob, overseeing the operation, hands a paper to the woman inside, confirming her household now meets the population requirement. Nearby, piano movers Yusuf and Malik drive past and see a commercial promoting voluntary enlistment in the euthanasia program. Frustrated, Malik throws his coffee at the poster, showing his anger at the world's state. Later, Yusuf and Malik arrive at the York residence, shielding themselves from the sun with an umbrella. Extreme solar radiation forces people to use umbrellas outdoors and protective window tints at home. Inside, Yusuf and Malik carry a large umbrella upstairs, while a man on TV discusses the benefits of enlisting, even suggesting lowering the enlistment age to include children. His remarks anger viewers nationwide. When asked if he would allow his own son to enlist, he says he would consider it. Malik and Yusuf realize the man on TV is Jared York, the son of their client, Charles York, a famous journalist. Outraged, they criticize Jared, but when Charles overhears, they apologize. Charles assures them he shares their anger and disagrees with his son's views. After the movers leave, Charles looks at a family photo of his second wife, Dawn, his children, Jared, Ashley, and Rachel, and his adopted son, Noah. Charles has invited them all to dinner, and Dawn, a celebrity chef, prepares a luxurious Korean meal. Meanwhile, Charles clears the house of alcohol and other items, as if preparing to leave. Dawn seems distressed, crying as she hugs her husband. The news reports that the Department of Citizen Strategy is now armed to handle unrest. It also reveals that York Therapeutics, Rachel's company, is being sued for fraud. Next, Jared arrives at the York residence. While in his car, his wife calls, furious about his interview. She threatens never to let him see their son again. Jared defends himself, claiming the reporter misrepresented his words, but she refuses to let him talk to their son and hangs up. Next, Jared enters the house and waits for Charles, who is preparing for the dinner. Charles peels the protective window tint to feel the sunlight, but it is unbearable. Moments later, Charles comes downstairs and sees Rachel and her daughter Mia entering. Delighted to see his granddaughter, Charles still asks Rachel why she brought Mia, reminding her the dinner was meant for adults only. After Mia heads to the kitchen, Rachel explains that Mia saw news about the allegations against York Therapeutics and became upset. Rachel brought her along to cheer her up. Meanwhile, Noah, the adopted son, debates whether to join the family. He calls his girlfriend Grace, who encourages him to go in and use this chance to share their relationship. After hanging up, Noah hesitates but turns to leave. Just then he runs into Ashley, who convinces him to come inside with her. As they drive to the house, Ashley excitedly tells Noah about landing a role in a commercial audition for a video game. In the car, Noah mentions Grace. Ashley questions why he hasn't told the family about her yet. Noah makes Ashley promise to keep it a secret until he is ready to share. She agrees but makes him promise not to keep any more secrets between them. When they enter the house, Charles is pleasantly surprised to see Noah after such a long time and hugs him warmly. Now that everyone is gathered, the family sits down to enjoy a delicious dinner. Dawn has recently closed her restaurant and now cooks only at home, which might explain her recent sadness. During dinner, Charles makes a toast. He apologizes to his children for not spending enough time with them because of his demanding work. After dinner, Charles reveals the real reason for the gathering. He announces that he and Dawn have enlisted in the euthanasia program to help the country achieve its 20% population reduction goal. He explains this is why he wanted the dinner to be adults only and asks Mia to go upstairs. Jared questions their decision, pointing out that they don't need the financial incentives offered to volunteers. Charles explains that after reporting on the extinction of the Amazon rainforest due to fires, he realized the planet cannot sustain more people. He adds that if no one volunteers and the government is forced to randomly select people, He would never forgive himself if any of his children were chosen. Jared, who has connections with the enlistment policy and the government, assures his parents that even if they are selected, he can take their place. This makes their early sacrifice unnecessary. He explains that the policy only requires one family member to enlist, and the rest of the family will be spared while receiving a significant financial reward. Dawn counters by saying that, given the York family's fame, their enlistment would inspire other families to volunteer and preserve the York family legacy. The argument grows heated, and Dawn leaves for the kitchen while the rest of the family continues to disagree. Later, the family gathers in the living room to discuss the enlistment policy. Charles asks who will be chosen first if no one volunteers. Jared explains that illegal immigrants are at the top of the list, but their families will be compensated, and they will be fast-tracked to citizenship. Charles expresses his outrage, calling it racist. He mentions how hatred towards Asian countries has grown, as they are often blamed for the current global crisis. He firmly states that he doesn't want their country to follow this path. Charles also reveals a painful truth about Dawn's restaurant, explaining that it wasn't closed but burned down by racist attackers. This incident left Dawn deeply depressed. During the discussion, Ashley accidentally mentions Noah's girlfriend, catching Charles's attention. Noah then admits he is dating a woman named Grace and reassures everyone that she is nothing like his past girlfriends who were drug addicts. Noah has a troubled history. He once struggled with drug addiction and caused a tragic accident that resulted in his girlfriend's death and left him injured. Now he tells Charles that he has turned his life around. He shares that he has a job playing piano at the place Grace manages. Hearing this, Charles expresses his pride in Noah's progress. Next, the family finds a letter from Dawn saying she has left because she cannot go through with the enlistment. Soon after, the doorbell rings, and Bob arrives with his team from the Department of Citizen Strategy. Charles informs Bob that Dawn is gone and asks for time to bring her back to proceed with the euthanasia. Bob speaks privately with Charles and hands him paperwork to sign. After reading it, Charles refuses and questions Bob, saying, "Do you even know who I am?" Remaining calm, Bob replies that he doesn't care as long as Charles's name is on the list. Later, all the children gather in Charles's bedroom, where Noah plays the piano he brought earlier. It becomes clear that Bob has convinced Charles to proceed with the euthanasia. Charles tells his children that he loves them and announces that his assets will be divided equally among the four of them. Bob administers the necessary drugs, and Charles passes away peacefully. Next, Bob's men take Charles's body away, but Bob reminds the family that he came to collect 2 bodies from the Yorks and has only received 1. The family refuses, explaining that Dawn has left and they have no one else to offer. Bob's men then enter the house armed, threatening the family to choose one among them to be killed and taken away. Bob grabs Mia and takes her to his car, assuring them that he won't harm her because she is a minor. He gives the family 2 hours to decide unless Dawn is found. When Jared says he can use his connections with high-ranking government officials to help, Bob reveals that the house is under lockdown with no cellular or Wi-Fi network available. Next, Bob exposes the family's darkest secrets, stored by the government, including their browsing histories and crimes committed against one another. He tells them that he is confident one of them will eventually sacrifice themselves for the others. Rachel becomes furious, as she has committed multiple felonies, and punches Bob in the face when he tries to read her secrets aloud. Despite this, Bob remains calm and leaves the house with his men, warning them that if they cannot decide, he will make the decision for them. In the following minutes, the family reads through their files, horrified by the revelations. However, despite their guilt, they cannot agree on who should sacrifice themselves. They gather to discuss, and Jared suggests that Noah should be the one to sacrifice himself. Jared argues that Noah wasted the opportunities their father gave him and threw away his life. Ashley defends Noah, saying Jared isn't a good person worth saving. Noah tells them that he has turned his life around and insists they should honor their father's wish by finding a way out of this together. Frustrated and unsure, the family calls Bob and tells him they cannot decide. Bob suggests drawing sticks, but they all refuse. Rachel then asks if they can simply hand over a body instead of volunteering. Bob confirms they can, leaving the family to decide. After Bob leaves, Rachel begins plotting against Noah. She convinces the others to turn on him and suddenly stabs him with a knife. To Bob's disappointment, Ashley agrees to help, handing Rachel the knife to finish the job. Ashley then grabs pepper spray, and Jared picks up a metal rod to attack Noah. Noah pleads with them to stop, reminding them that they are family, but they ignore him. Noah defends himself skillfully, avoiding serious harm, but he refuses to fight Ashley. She sprays him with pepper spray, blinding him, and as he struggles to escape, Rachel throws a knife, stabbing him in the back. Next, Noah goes into the bathroom to patch up his wounds. Afterward, he sits in a bedroom, trying to calm himself and figure out what to do next. He attempts to text Grace for help, but realizes the house has no network. Frustrated, he throws his phone outside. Once it is far enough, the message is sent. Determined, he breaks a chair and takes a stick to defend himself. He sets out to confront his siblings who conspired to kill him. Meanwhile, Bob receives news that Dawn has been found, but he does nothing to stop the siblings from fighting. Instead, he watches to see how things will unfold. After searching, Noah finds Ashley hiding in a closet. She apologizes for her actions earlier and tells him the others are in the living room. Noah tells her that this madness has to stop. Together, they head out, and Noah notices a family picture in the corridor, briefly distracting him. Suddenly, Rachel appears and stabs his hand, pinning it to the wall with a knife. Despite this, Noah manages to hit Rachel, and Ashley runs away. Noah painfully pulls the knife out of his hand and retreats to a room, but Jared chases after him. Noah fights back, hitting Jared and stabbing Rachel in the neck with a fork. He then attacks Jared again and tries to escape, but Ashley sneaks up from behind and knocks him out. Next, the siblings tie Noah up, deciding to kill him together. They each hold a knife, ready to end his life, but none of them can go through with it. Just then, Grace arrives at the doorstep, demanding to see Noah. She starts filming her surroundings, which alarms the siblings. Jared, Rachel, and Ashley go outside to confront her. At the same time, Mia begins causing a commotion on the bus, trying to leave. They tell her to run and get help, but as soon as she runs, one of Bob's men shoots and kills her. The family is shocked and horrified by Mia's death. Rachel, in desperation, suggests giving Grace to Bob as the second body. However, Bob refuses, reminding them that Grace is not part of the York family. He coldly informs them they have 15 minutes to make their decision and leaves them to return inside the house. To their shock, Noah is no longer where they left him, and suddenly the lights go out. The siblings grab a flashlight and search for him. Out of nowhere, Noah appears and stabs Ashley. He then attacks Rachel and Jared, stabbing Rachel in the neck. Next, he strangles Ashley, but Rachel begs him to stop. Noah turns to Rachel and starts strangling her as well, but she pleads with him, saying she will volunteer. Hearing this, Noah releases her and tells them no one in the family will die. Instead, they will work together to kill Bob and his men. Next, the siblings treat Ashley's wounds and prepare their plan. They tell Bob they are ready and have selected a candidate. When Bob enters the living room with one of his men, he finds Ashley lying on the floor, appearing unconscious. As Bob inspects the situation, the three siblings reveal their true intentions. Just then, Ashley stabs Bob's man, and Noah grabs Bob, holding a knife to his neck. Bob's remaining men arrive, but he instructs them to stand down and hand over their weapons as demanded by the siblings. Once the men leave, the siblings knock Bob out. When Bob regains consciousness, he is tied up, and the siblings are preparing to kill him the same way he killed their father. Bob warns them that harming a government official will result in both Mia and Jared's son being taken by the government as punishment. As Jared prepares to inject Bob with the euthanizing drug, Bob proposes a deal. He offers to help them handle all legal matters without getting caught if they let him go. The siblings exchange glances, realizing this might be their best option. Sometime later, Noah is dressed in a suit performing at a grand concert. Rachel, Mia, Jared, his son, and Dawn are in the audience, watching his beautiful performance with pride. Meanwhile, the news reports that Ashley and Grace have enlisted in the euthanasia program and are being hailed as heroes. Bob appears on television, praising their bravery and claiming he was the one who collected their bodies. The nation celebrates Ashley and Grace as selfless heroes, never knowing the true story behind their supposed sacrifice. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.